Hey there, friends, and welcome back to another 3-Minute Thoughts. My name is Derek, and in the next 3 minutes, we're going to close out the book of Romans by looking at chapters 14 through 16. As Paul moves into Romans 14, he's going to shift from theology to church life, from this grand sweep of salvation to the nitty-gritty reality of people trying to follow Jesus together in the world. The issue in Rome wasn't about doctrine, but disputes. Some Christians were uncomfortable eating meat from the marketplace because it might, air quotes there, might have been sacrificed to idols. Others were totally fine with it. Some still observed Jewish feasts. Others treated every day the same. None of these things touched the heart of the gospel, but they were causing friction. Paul's instruction is simple, but incredibly wise. Welcome one another without passing judgment. You don't have to agree with each other. It's not about forcing uniformity. It's about welcome one another. It's about being loving and caring and just not being jerks about things in life. Paul warns both sides. Your personal freedom is not an excuse to harm someone's faith. If your choices cause a brother or sister to stumble, to violate their conscience, then love calls you to lay that freedom down. Christ died for that person too, so surely you can inconvenience yourself for them today. Romans 15 picks up the same theme, but widens the camera angle just a little bit. Paul says, Jesus became a servant to confirm God's promises to Israel and to bring mercy to the Gentiles. The divided church in Rome, Jewish and Gentile believers, was not an accident. It was the fulfillment of God's global plan from the very beginning. Paul then quotes a string of Old Testament passages showing that the nations were always meant to join Israel in praise. So unity in worship is not optional, it's God's design. He's then going to shift to his own mission. He says he's been called to preach Christ where he's never been named before, to open new ground, to not build on someone else's foundation. That's why he hasn't visited Rome yet. And before he comes, he's delivering a collection to the poor believers in Jerusalem, a symbolic act of Gentile believers supporting Jewish believers in love. If we were going to apply this to our lives today, we can see that division kills mission. The church's unity is part of its witness, and mature believers use their strength to serve others. Then in that final chapter, Romans chapter 16, it might look like just a list of names, but it's one of the richest windows into the early church. He begins by commending Phoebe, and he talks about Priscilla and Aquila, and names people from Jewish backgrounds and Gentile backgrounds, slaves, free men, women, households, house churches. This is the gospel in living color. People who would never have gathered in the same room are now part of God's family. Christ has made them one. He also warns them to watch out for false teachers, people who divide, distort, and pull the church off center. He tells them to cling to the teaching they have received because unity must be anchored in truth. All of this goes to remind us that it challenges us to see the church not as an event, but as a family. It reminds us that ministry is personal and relational, and that's where we end for today. Be well, friends.